Hi there, it's Karen at Corrie Paper Crafts here, independent Stampin' Up demonstrator in Central Scotland. Welcome back to another project, and today it's this one here. It's a little gift bag made out of cardstock with some layers of designer series paper on top, and I've got a cardstock handle this time round as well. It's quite a roomy little bag. It measures 3 inches by 3 inches by 2 inches, the finished dimensions, and I used the Forever Greenery designer series paper. I think that's what it's called. Let me just remind myself. I'm sure it is. Yes, Forever Greenery. And I used the Forever Fern stamp set to stamp these and then cut them out. And the green gingham ribbon, which is in Just Jade, is one of the ribbons from the Flowers for Every Season suite. So I'm going to show you how I made it. The cardstock for this one was shaded spruce, and I've actually put my leaves on the wrong side. I should have been on this side, but never mind. And this time round I'm going to make it using Just Jade cardstock instead. So you'll need a piece of cardstock which measures 8 inches by 7 inches. You'll need 2 pieces of designer series paper which measure 2 7/8 by 2 7/8, and you'll need 2 pieces which measure 2 7/8 by 1 7/8. And for the handle on the top, you're going to need a piece of cardstock which measures 8 inches by 1 inch, and the designer series paper for the top of that measures 8 inches by 7/8 of an inch. So I'm going to show you how I made it. It's a nice, quick and easy project to make, so I'll pop those over there just now, and I'll bring in my scoreboard and try and keep it where you don't get too much glare. So on the 8-inch side, we're going to score at 3 inches on from both ends. So just turn it round and score it at 3 again, and that means that any sort of deviation in the size is on this panel here, but this measures exactly 3 inches and this measures exactly 3 inches for the purposes of putting the bag together, so you're not going to have any overlap either side of here. Sometimes that can happen, that's why I prefer to score them from each side. And then from this side we're actually going to score at 2 inches on both sides, on the 7-inch side. So on the 8-inch side, 3 inches, turn it round and score it at 3 inches, turn it to the 7-inch side and score at 2 inches, and then again at 2 inches, and that's all the scoring done. And then just fold and burnish on the score lines. Oops. Make sure you actually do fold it on the score lines though, not like I nearly did there. Turn it round, I think. And then this is what you're left with once you've done your folding and your burnishing. So this is the front and back panels of the bag, and these are the sides that we're going to join together. So what we need to do is cut up either side of these squares in the middle, top and bottom. And again, we want to remove the score line onto the square panel here, as you can see, and keep the straight edge on the rectangle. And the same on this side, straight edge on the rectangle, and remove the score line onto the square. And then we're going to notch either side of the square like so. And then what I did, because we don't need this whole piece, I took about 3/4 of an inch off or thereabouts. It's going to be hidden inside anyway, but we just don't need all of it. Turn it round and repeat on the other side. So straight up the rectangle and notch on the square at both sides. I've got glue on my scissors and they're sticking to everything. Should have cleaned them before I started, I guess. and then about 3/4 of an inch or so taken away from that, and that's all the cutting, oops, that we need to do. So when you're finished, you'll be left with something like this. So before we do anything else, I'm going to stick my designer series paper on, and actually I'm going to stick my paper onto my handle first of all, because that gives it time to dry before I then want to bend it a little bit. So I just want to make sure I get kind of close to the edges and definitely close to the corners with my glue without squishing any of it out. Just pop a bit up the middle, and then I'm just going to lay this down in the middle of my handle, but because I'm using my liquid glue, I've got time to just make sure I'm happy with placement before I stick it down. There we go. And so that I don't move it again, I'm just going to press from behind like so. And actually sometimes when you press it down with your paper folder, it does start to curl it anyway. And then any overlap at the bottom or at the ends, just cut it off. Hence the gluey scissors. So I'm going to leave that for now, just put that to the side, and I'm going to stick my designer series paper onto my bag. So obviously this is the top of the bag, so the outside edges of these squares are what is the top of the bag. So if you do have a directional paper, you want to make sure that you're putting it on facing the right way up. If it's not a directional paper, it really doesn't matter. So I'm just going to stick some glue on here, making sure I catch all those corners, and then stick that down, just making sure I've got an even border all the way round. I'm happy with that. Turn it round, pop the other bit on too. Just make sure I catch those corners. There we are. And pop that down with an even border around it. That's about right, there we go. And then I'm just going to press that on the back side of my cardstock, and then I need to decide, it doesn't really matter, which is going to be the front of the bag, so that I know which panels to pop my cardstock. I quite fancy that as the front. It's just got a slightly more even distribution of the pattern, so I'm going to put my side panels on here. Again, just making sure I catch into those corners. There we go. And stick it on with an even border around the outside. And last one, just like that, and pop it onto here. That looks okay, I think. There we are. So I'll get rid of that glue, and then what I want to do is I want to put some tape on the inside of these panels, because these are going to attach on the outside of what will be the back panels, and then when I put the bag together, these will be the final panels that are on the outside of the bag, but on the inside there's a neat finish there too. So I'm going to pop some of my tearing tape onto these panels here, just like so. I'm just going to pop a couple onto each, just to help to hold those down. And then the panels with the Designer Series paper are the last ones to be stuck down, so I'm going to put 2 or 3 pieces on here to make sure that my box doesn't come apart. I'm going to put a piece just next to that folded edge there and pop a bit in the middle so that I don't get any gaping top and bottom. There we go, and the same on this side, just beside the fold, on the outside edge. And a piece just in the middle as well, like that. There we go. Anything that's overlapping, we'll put it together when we're ready. So I'm just going to give all of these an extra press, make sure they're stuck, and then I'm going to remove the backing from the tape on these side panels. Just first of all, fold back anything that's overlapping on the outside, get rid of these bits too. And again, just fold in anything that's overlapping at the sides. So what I want to do is I want to bring, how easy is it going to be for you to see this? I'm going to bring the back of my bag up first, and if you can see this score line here, I'm just trying to keep this panel on the inside of that score line until I can bring this panel up to join it, and that essentially gives it room for that fold there to act as a hinge. So I'll just show you that again. This panel here just to the inside of that score line until I can bring that panel up to join it here, and then I'm just going to give those an extra press down to make sure that they're stuck. There we are, and then that leaves the front of my bag to come and join over the top like so, and I'll do one panel at a time. So I'll take the backing off of my tape here, just make sure I get rid of anything that's going to be sticky outy. As you know, that's a technical term. And then I want to just again bring this edge up to this score line here, and then bring my front panel over, and I'm more interested about joining it up at the top than looking at the side or the bottom, because if you get the top joined together nice and straight, the rest will all fall into place too. So I'm going to do the same again with this panel here. Oopsie daisy, I've just lost the cap off my putty end, and it's gone flying across the floor if you heard that noise. Bounced off the table first. So again, I'm just going to bring that up to that score line, let it act as a hinge, and just line up the edges at the top of the bag, and the rest will fall into place. And that's the main part of my gift bag made. So I'm just going to give it a nice press down all of those folds and make sure that my tape is well stuck. There we go, and that's a nice bag. And I've got to remember that my joins are at the back. I'm just going to give that an extra press down. It's not too keen to stick down. That's a bit better. So I'm wanting the flush side to be the front, so this is the front of my bag. So I'm just going to curl this using my paper folder. I just want to break down the fibres and bend my handle a little bit. It'll still go into place on my bag anyway, but I'm just wanting to break the fibres a little bit to get it to go like so. And this bag, I actually stuck my handle on the inside of the bag, but I'm not liking that. I'm going to bring the edges over onto the outside of this bag, I think. So to make sure that it's even, I'm just going to grab my ruler and my pencil, and I'm going to measure 3/4 of an inch from the top and just put a little pencil mark on my bag so that I know where to stick the end of the handle to, and another mark there. And then I'm just going to I probably would have been better putting 3/4 inch mark on here, because I want to know where to stop with my glue. So I'll just add a couple of marks on here too, and I know that my glue can't go beyond those marks there. So I'm just going to add some glue up to, but not beyond that, whoops, that mark, and I'm just going to do that on each end. So I know I don't want to go any further than that pencil mark, but to allow it some squishing room, I'm not going to go right up to it either. And then I'm going to stick my handle onto my bag and hold it just for a minute or two until that sets, but I want to make sure that it doesn't slip in the meantime. It only takes a minute or two for the glue to grab. You do still have some room for manoeuvre, but you want to get it down as straight as possible. And again, just down to that pencil mark in the middle of that side, and just hold it for a minute or two to give the glue time to take, and then just gently take my paper folder and press down from the inside of the bag like so. There we are. And that's my bag made, and again I'm remembering that this is the front. So for the leaves on the front of here, I used the Forever Fern stamp set. It's a cling stamp set, and I used these little, I don't know if it's buds or something, and one of these leaves and this leaf here, and I stamped them and cut them out using the Forever Flourishing dies, which is just a beautiful pack of dies. Lots of dies in there that match the stamps, but extra bits of foliage as well, so it is a really nice die set to have. And I used my Shaded Spruce Soft Sea Foam and Pear Pizzazz to stamp some of these, and actually I did do one in Garden Green as well. I think I might use a Pear Pizzazz this time because I didn't use it on this. So I've already stamped and cut some of these ahead of time. So I'm going to use that one, and I'm wondering if I'll maybe use this one this time rather than the Soft Sea Foam, although the Soft Sea Foam seems to show up against that background a little bit better, so I am going to go with the Soft Sea Foam again. So I just added some dimensionals onto the backs of these. I used some of my big dimensionals and some of my minis as well. Oops, that doesn't want to come off, that one. So I just popped a couple on the back of here, one on the back of there, one big one on the bottom of there, and a couple of minis, just one here and a couple, oops, on there, and I'm pulling the backing off of that one already. And then I basically just stuck them on. So I'm going to pop these leaves on first, and I might put them in a different order this time, just because I can. So will I, or will I pop them? Yep, I think I'll pop that one on there, and then I'll bring in, oops, these little buds. It's been quite warm here today, and I think my dimensionals are a little bit melty, so I'm just going to join those together here, and then I'm going to bring this towards the front just about there. There we are. And then using my ribbon, what I did was I just did a bunny ears bow. So if you've not seen one of those before, I just took my ribbon, this is my gingham ribbon like I said, took my ribbon, looped it round my 2 index fingers like that until I had 2 bows like this. So I'll just do that again. Flat end of my ribbon, took my 2 fingers like so, made it into a couple of loops like this, hence the bunny ears, folded one over the other as if to tie in a knot, but the only difference being that when you pop that through, you let that tail go and it spins back round on itself, and you get a nice bow with a nice bit in the middle. That's one of my favourite ways of tying a bow when I'm not tying it round something. So I'm just trying to pull this through to make that ear a little bit bigger, and there we are. So I just need to snip the tails, 1, 2, about there. And then I grabbed a couple of mini glue dots for the back of my ribbon, like so, and then I just stuck it over the top of here just to hide the bottom of those leaves on the front of the bag, and that's it made. I really quite like that, and I like the Just Jade card as much as I like the Shaded Spruce card. So I hope you like that. I think I do like the handles on the outside rather than the inside, but you can maybe let me know what you think about it. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye bye.